Did you know there was a world where we almost got this? Welcome to Behind the Screen, the show where we take a deep dive into the world of video game movies. I'm your host, Patty Pixel, and today we're stepping into 1995's Mortal Kombat. We'll be taking a look at the wacky production stories, dangerous stunts, the origins of the franchise, behind-the-scenes stories from producers and actors, that chart-topping theme song, and how worldwide reactions made this movie more than just a fan favorite. If you enjoy this video and the content I make, please consider throwing the video a like and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Now on with the show. The Mortal Kombat movie released in 1995, working with a modest budget of just $20 million, and went on to make over $120 million during its time at the box office. At the times before the Avengers blockbuster movies, this was quite a decent run. It remained number one for 3 weeks and broke Guinness World Records with its hit soundtrack song Techno Syndrome, selling over 1 million copies in the US. As time went on, the love for this movie only grew stronger, and today it's looked back at by most fans as one of the better video game adaptations we've received from Hollywood. In order to understand what makes this movie so special, we have to first take a quick look back at what it all started as: a video game. Mortal Kombat began as a planned Jean-Claude Van Damme fighting game tied to Universal Soldier. Developers John Tobias and Ed Boon envisioned a gritty, digitized martial arts game starring Van Damme. When the deal fell through, they reworked the concept into their own property, what we know today as Mortal Kombat, keeping the over-the-top fighting and creating Johnny Cage as a playful parody of Van Damme, even giving him the same initials, JC. The game released in arcades in October 1992 and found its way onto living room consoles by mid-September of 1993. The over-the-top depiction of gore and violence helped spark public outrage and public scrutiny against violent video games, and in the US in 1994, the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, had been created to help. With this, a rating system was created, and Mortal Kombat received an M for mature rating, ensuring the game wouldn't end up in innocent little Timmy's hands.
Somebody please think of the children!
Spoiler alert, little Timmy still found a way to play the game just like most of us who were playing games at the time did. All this controversy did little to hurt the game, and if anything created a free marketing push to the public and gamers that if you wanted a brutal, over-the-top fighting game with lots of gore and blood and interesting characters, then Mortal Kombat was the thing to play. The franchise understood who its core audience was and who the games were made for, predominantly male gamers between the ages of 12 to 40, and always did everything to serve that audience, from the over-the-top violence to the provocative character designs and even its marketing. MK never shied away from what it was or who it was for, and profited heavily because of this. 2 mainline games were released before the movie, Mortal Kombat 1 and Mortal Kombat 2. Both went on to do gangbuster sales, with MK1 selling over 3 million copies in its first year, and its sequel MK2 selling over 2.5 million copies in just its first week. The franchise was a massive hit, and when you have a massive hit in America, what do? Capitalize, baby. Somewhere around the same time as the second hit game was being released, producer Lawrence Kasanoff visited Midway Games' offices after working on Terminator 2 Arcade and played Mortal Kombat on an arcade cabinet. He saw tremendous multimedia potential beyond just a game and merch.
$100 billion.
He told Midway exec Neil Nicastro that the property could become Star Wars meets Enter the Dragon and started pushing for rights. Midway had initially doubted the idea of a movie adaptation, given the previous failures of video game films like Super Mario Bros., but Kasanoff's lobbying eventually wore them down, enough to agree, and after about 3 months of persistent negotiation, he secured a limited option for film rights. Several established directors pitched for the movie, but Kasanoff chose Paul W.S. Anderson, an unknown at the time. Anderson was a fan of the game, had vivid visual ideas, and despite no VFX appearance, he was determined. He was actually later quoted as saying he bluffed his way into teaching himself VFX from books and learning on set. The screenplay was written by Kevin Droney, drawing primarily from the original Mortal Kombat game, with additional elements from Mortal Kombat 2. Now that Kasanoff had acquired rights and assembled a team, film development kicked off and the actual filming would start around the same time as Mortal Kombat's 2 console release in 1994. Publisher Midway, who held the rights to the IP, made licensing deals for everything from clothing to trading cards to comic books, action figures and posters. Every kind of merch you can think of was created, so naturally what comes next? Well, a movie, of course. Before we get into the filming, production, and all the wild behind-the-scenes stories, let's run through the movie's plot real quick, in case you've never seen the movie or haven't watched it recently. That way when we start talking about how certain scenes were made, or the chaos that happened on set, drama with certain actors or characters, you'll know exactly what we're talking about and how it fits into the bigger picture, and be able to catch all the little connections as we go. The movie opens with lead protagonist Liu Kang having a nightmare of past events where his younger brother Chan is killed by a sorcerer Shang Tsung, who steals Chan's soul and vows Liu is next. Driven by guilt and revenge, Liu leaves his training in America and returns to his Shaolin roots. We shift to Sonya Blade, a special forces officer hunting the arms dealer Kano, who murdered her partner. She storms a crowded nightclub, chasing him into Shang Tsung's grasp, a setup to lure her into the tournament. Meanwhile, Johnny Cage, a Hollywood martial arts star mocked as a fraud, is tricked by his old mentor into joining the tournament to prove himself. The three converge on a mysterious dock where they meet Lord Raiden, Thunder God and protector of Earthrealm. Raiden explains that the Mortal Kombat is an ancient tournament between Earth's champions and Outworld's warriors. If Outworld wins one more tournament, Earth will fall to Emperor Shao Kahn. And of course, Outworld has already won 9 in a row. They board a ghostly ship to Shang Tsung's island where we're introduced to the enemy lineup. Sub-Zero, a cryomancer ninja assassin. Scorpion, a hellspawn ninja with a spear that launches from his hand. Kano, the Australian black market crime boss, aligned with Tsung. Fun fact, the Kano character that now always has an Australian accent in the games was adapted directly from the movie actor canonizing it moving forward. Princess Kitana, stepdaughter of Shao Kahn, who secretly aids the Earth's warriors. Prince Goro, a massive four-armed Shokan, and undefeated in the tournament as champion. Reptile, a stealthy chameleon-like creature who hides in the shadows. After arriving on the island, we see the tournament begin. We see Liu Kang win his first match against a masked warrior in front of the crowd. Sonya faces Kano, finally killing him with a neck snap. Liu Kang defeats Sub-Zero, freezing him using a bucket of ice water to shatter the ice and end the match. Johnny Cage battles Scorpion in a fiery alternate dimension, Hell Realm, killing him with his own weapons before leaving an autographed photo as a final insult. The tournament takes a break and Kitana warns Liu Kang about his destiny and subtly guides him on how to defeat his foes. Reptile, initially stalking Kitana, is later kicked into a statue by Liu Kang, transforming him into his humanoid form for a brutal high-energy fight that Liu wins. We cut to scenes of Prince Goro dismantling multiple opponents in quick succession. Johnny Cage challenges him, and using speed and cunning and his traditional special move from the games, a well-placed low blow, he sends Goro plummeting to his death. Desperate now that his main fighter Goro is lost, Shang Tsung kidnaps Sonya and retreats to Outworld. Liu Kang and Johnny follow. In Outworld's throne room, Liu challenges Shang Tsung. The sorcerer summons warriors including a vision of Chan, Liu's dead brother. But Liu resists, fights through them, and ultimately impales Shang Tsung, sending him falling to his death and freeing all the souls he has taken. With the tournament won, Earth is safe, for now. The heroes return to celebrate, but the sky splits open. Shao Kahn's massive spirit looms over them, vowing to take their soul. Raiden grins, "I don't think so." The movie cuts to credits and an intense 90s techno beat ensues. Alright, now that you're all caught up on the story, let's step off the island and into the real battleground, the making of Mortal Kombat. This is where the fights were real, the injuries were painful, the casting choices were wild, and the production crew at the battle heat, broken props, $1 million animatronic that just wouldn't behave. From last-minute role changes to stunts that nearly sidelined the stars, the making of this movie was just as intense as the fights on the screen. It's not a surprise that the creators of the franchise were heavily involved in the filming and production of the movie. They advised on characters, moves, personalities, and general tone so it wouldn't stray too far from the games. They visited the set during production, met with the cast and crew, and saw filming firsthand, but they weren't there for the entire shoot. Regardless, I'm sure it's no coincidence that the first casting choice to play Johnny Cage was actually Jean-Claude Van Damme himself. Given their love for the action star and how he inspired their IP in the first place, I'm sure this would have been a dream moment for the entire team. Unfortunately, Van Damme turned down the project, and the role would later be given to Lyndon Ashby, who was also trained in karate and taekwondo. Another interesting casting choice that actually never came to be was that of Sonya Blade. Originally, the part was given to none other than Cameron Diaz, but she had to drop out of the film early due to a wrist injury before filming. Right before the filming started, many actresses were considered like Sharon Stone, Christina Applegate, but the part was ultimately given to Bridget Wilson, who during the filming of the movie was given the nickname Robo Babe, because she would do all her own stunts, and in doing so, would always be getting injured on set, but always bouncing back ready to perform, ignoring the injury like some kind of robot. Determined to serve the character justice, her fight scenes were filmed last to allow her more time to train and prepare better for the role. Most actors in the film were chosen based on their looks to match the characters, with some like the actor who played Shang Tsung being instantly cast for their roles, and others like Robin Shu, who played Liu Kang, being cast later for their actual martial arts skills, in his case being a Hong Kong Wushu champion. Casting the actors for the movie was a battle all on its own, but it wouldn't compare to the upcoming challenges that the team would soon be facing. The movie was shot in a matter of months, with filming beginning in the starting of August 1994 and wrapping in late December of the same year. 4 months to film a movie of this size was not a long time, but they would do their best to make it work. The film was primarily shot in Thailand, with some outworld scenes being filmed back home in California. California obviously didn't pose much troubles for filming, but the same could not obviously be said about Thailand. As someone who's personally spent time there, I can personally say that I have no idea how they pulled this off the way they did. And when you research what the cast and crew went through just to get some of the location shots and just to get some of the film shots they did, it's actually kind of astounding. They started in the beaches of Thailand, limestone cliffs rising straight from emerald waters where the opening shots and the approach to Shang Tsung's island were filmed. Sounds gorgeous, right? Okay, now add sweltering 100-degree heat, humidity that was fogging up the cameras, sudden monsoon bursts that could be coming out in the middle of filming. Between takes, the crew battled swarms of mosquitoes, and the local monkeys had a habit of raiding the craft services table. So there goes your lunch.
How rude.
Next stop, we hit the beaches of Thailand and the caves of Krabi, including the now famous beaches. Those stunning caves in the movie, well, they were constantly filling with water, and thanks to the rising tides and lower tides, the crew never knew what was going to happen, so at any time they would have 1 minute to finish filming the shot and just have to stop in the middle of filming. The heat was so brutal that the actors like Robin Shou and Bridget Wilson, they were drenched in sweat before the director even yelled action. They had actual people that would come down to wipe off sweat off the crew just before the actual action would start. Each location pushed the cast and crew to the limit. Heat exhaustion, unpredictable weather, downright dangerous sets. But those challenges gave Mortal Kombat that raw, lived-in look that helped it stand out from every other video game movie at the time. The crew had to boat gear and cameras to many of the filming spots because there was no roads, meaning everything from lights to sound equipment was hauled by hand in 100-degree Fahrenheit heat. Many of the fighters had leather and rubber outfits and padded costumes. Well, guess what? Those stuck to their skin so badly that the actors had to be peeled out of them at the end of the day. The jungle areas weren't movie set safe. The vegetation was real, dense, crawling with bugs. Actors had to spray insect repellent on the outside of their costumes just to stop from getting bitten through the fabric. Each location pushed the cast and crew to the limit, but those challenges gave that Mortal Kombat movie all the look it did, and I think it was better for it. When the actors weren't getting injuries due to the fighting and harsh weather conditions, they were getting them from fighting each other. Lyndon Ashby, who played Johnny Cage, bruised a kidney during his fight scene with Scorpion. Bridget Wilson, who played Sonya Blade, dislocated her shoulder during one of her fight scenes, put it back in, and continued going. This is why she got her name Robo Babe. Robin Shou, who played Liu Kang, received 2 broken ribs during his fights with Reptile and literally kept shooting. This guy was an actual warrior. The amount of injuries to the main actors on set to this high level isn't something you really hear of too often. This is even more of a wild fact when you learn that early test screenings of the movie actually reported that the movie was great but needed more action and additional fight scenes, like the one between Johnny Cage and Scorpion that was added in afterwards closer to the end of filming. It wasn't only the cast facing major hurdles. The director and his team went through multiple hiccups and tribulations. In one case, they needed to get special permission that was needed by the Thai government to film in certain areas, and this was very much not easy to obtain. Or dealing with the Goro animatronic, which was a full-body suit animatronic and took up to 13 people to function properly. It cost $1 million to make and would literally break down constantly. Built by Tom Woodruff Jr. and Alex Gillis, the same guys behind the Terminator special effects, at the time, Goro was a full-body suit with animatronics, not CGI. The suit weighed 90 to 120 pounds depending on the rigging, and the performer Tom Woodruff Jr. himself was inside controlling the body and lower arms, while the upper arms and facial movements were radio controlled by a puppeteer team off camera. Goro had over 100 motors inside to control eye movement, mouth shapes, arm articulation, and more, which made it extremely prone to breakdowns. And in Thailand's hot climate, the motors would overheat constantly, causing his face to freeze mid-expression or the arms to seize up. Breakdowns were so frequent that Paul W.S. Anderson sometimes shot Goro's dialogue scenes with him completely immobile and later edited around the lack of movement. Looking back on the CGI technology at the time and the portions of the film that did use CGI like Reptile, I think they made the right choice in the decision to go with practical effects like Goro, despite the challenges they faced with it. The team also faced one more major challenge before releasing this movie: how to get the rating down to a respectable PG-13 while still keeping it feeling like Mortal Kombat, and so they wouldn't be limiting their audience who could see the film, knowing that teenagers were a large demographic of its fans. A PG-13 rating meant only non-human deaths were allowed on screen. So to avoid an R rating, human deaths were kept off screen, while creatures were still killed on screen. I guess a safe but smart way to go about things. Despite the injuries, technical headaches, and grueling international shoot, Mortal Kombat wrapped in late 1994 with a movie that looked far bigger than its budget. What began as a risky game adaptation from an unproven director now had exotic locations, high-energy fight choreography, and some of the most memorable characters in 90s action cinema. But finishing the film was only half the battle. After months of sweat, stunts, and pure chaos on set, it was finally time for Mortal Kombat to step into the arena that mattered the most: the box office. But New Line Cinemas, the studio distributing the movie, didn't just release this movie, they unleashed it. What followed was one of the loudest, most relentless marketing assaults of the 90s, turning a video game adaptation into a full-blown cultural event. By summer of 95, Mortal Kombat wasn't just a movie, it was a full-blown phenomenon. New Line Cinemas, the studio in charge of distribution, originally planned to drop it in May, but early test screenings were so strong, they pushed it to August 18th of 95 to chase that late summer blockbuster money. Smart move, because the movie brought in $23 million, went straight to number 1, stayed there for 3 weeks. On a budget of $20 million, it finished with about $70 million domestic and $120 million worldwide, smashing Street Fighter's record for biggest video game movie opening and holding the highest video game grossing adaptation crown until Pokemon the first movie in 1999. The marketing was relentless. Multiple trailers were cut, an action-packed one for general audiences, more ones for MTV. MTV also ran ads all summer long loaded with the iconic and that hit intro techno song. We had spots on WWF Raw, The Simpsons, 90210. Arcades running Mortal Kombat 3 had special posters teasing the film, and GamePro and EGM ran big features with cast interviews, fighter-style bios. Live events ranged from mall martial arts demos to nightclub Mortal Kombat nights, theater costume contests, and a Comic-Con 95 panel with Paul W.S. Anderson and the main cast themselves. The soundtrack got its own push, a music video on MTV that went platinum with over 1 million copies sold, landing a Guinness World Record as the first EDM soundtrack to do it. Print ads ran in comic books and sports mags, and major trading card company Fleer made promo trading cards. And then there was the Mortal Kombat The Journey Begins, an animated prequel mixing in 2D motion capture and early CGI. Released months before the film, it set up the backstory and then later got bundled with the movie on VHS. By early holiday of 1995, Mortal Kombat was just finishing its run in theaters and riding a massive wave of merchandising and marketing hype. And when it hit home video in early 1996, it dominated the VHS sales charts, cementing itself as not just a hit movie, but a pop culture juggernaut, a position it would still hold to this day. When Mortal Kombat hit theaters, critics were split, but fans, they were all in. On Rotten Tomatoes nowadays, it hovers around 47%, Metacritic about 60%, plenty of praise for its fight scenes and stylish production design, but predictable knocks for its thin plot and toned down violence, not something they could do much with at the time if they wanted everybody to be able to watch the film. Audiences told a different story though. The film scored an A on CinemaScore, the word of mouth was electric, strong enough to keep it parked at number 1 for 3 straight weekends. Even heavyweight critics that you would think would be very harsh were more forgiving than you'd expect. Roger Ebert noted the movie gave fans exactly what they wanted, even if it wasn't hardcore gore. Fans still gush about it nowadays, with many calling it the best video game movie ever. Nearly 30 years on, Mortal Kombat hasn't just survived, it's still fighting for rank as the number 1 movie and the number 1 video game adaptation. Mortal Kombat opened the lane for future game-to-screen projects, directly spawning the 1997 sequel Annihilation, the animated series Defenders of the Realm, live-action prequel shows, and inspiring countless imitators. Its success in future games, which only got better, kept the franchise alive in pop culture for decades, paving the way for a 2021 reboot, a sequel, and proving that video game adaptations could be box office hits. My personal take on this movie as far as a review can be summed up very easily. It's amazing and knows who it's for. With the budget it had and everything it had working against it and all the trials and tribulations it went through, I still think it's close to a miracle this movie even managed to finish filming. Even without being an MK fan, there is a lot to love here. Cool dudes in sick outfits in a fighting tournament, sexy fighter ladies, well-written and acted protagonists, a serviceable story, lots of great over-the-top action, amazing sets and visuals with some super fun creative characters to follow along with. For a 90s action movie, I'm not sure what more you could ask for. I think the fact it managed to stay faithful to the source material was just the cherry on the cake. Alright, if you made it to the end of this video, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to you. I've been working hard to figure out exactly how to structure this channel and what I wanted to do with it. We're going to have the 2 shows behind the screen where we do this, take a deep dive into video game movies and look at the production and all the behind the scenes stuff and all that fun stuff. And then we're going to have an upcoming show called Screen Watch where we're going to take a look at upcoming video game movies and video game TV shows and see what's going on with them, upcoming dates and projects, announcements, casting dates, things like that. So if you guys enjoy this content, please show the video some love and also comment down below some video game movies and video game TV shows you'd like to see covered here on the channel. All right, that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm your host, Patty Pixel. Until next time, I'm out.